Namaskar, greetings to everyone. Hope all of you are doing well. This is the first time you are meeting in the new year, so I can say Happy New Year. Very good. Hope this year 2021 will be far better than the last year. Last year 2020 was not so good with the virus, COVID-19 virus problem and the social, political unrest. Hope all those things will end soon, and we will be able to continue our spiritual effort peacefully this year. So let us start with a Shanti Mantra. This is on page 154. This book, Universal Prayers, the last one, the third one on page 154. The English translation is on page 155. This is a hymn offering our salutations to our Guru, spiritual teacher, from the Vishwasara Tantra. So let us chant the Shanti Mantra. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gavanasadrisham Tattvamasyaadilaksham Ekam Nityam Yamalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I bow down to the Guru, who is the embodiment of the bliss of Brahman, the giver of the greatest beatitude, the absolute, the personification of the highest knowledge, who is beyond the pairs of opposites like pleasure and pain, and untouched by evil like the sky, whom thou art that and similar scriptural passages have in view. The one without a second, the eternal, the pure, the immovable, the witness of all mental modifications, abiding ever beyond thoughts and attributes. May He bestow His grace upon us all. Om Peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. And may there be peace everywhere in nature. We were studying chapter 6, the chapter dealing with meditation, Dhyana Yoga. The preparation for meditation is not so much in a physical sense. Very few instructions are there about how to prepare the seat, how to sit erect with head, neck and back all in one line and not looking at any particular object, etc. Those are simple instructions. The main instruction is preparation of the mind. If the mind is not prepared, then meditation will be difficult. How to prepare the mind? Several hints have been given, instructions have been given in this chapter so far. The first instruction was to do all our duties without attachment to work and its results. First verse in the 6th chapter, dealing with meditation, start with Karma Yoga. Anasthita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha. Karma phalam anashritya. Not expecting or depending upon karma phala, the fruit of our action. Ya karma karoti, a person who does all work. That is an important preparation. How we do all our work all throughout the day. Meditation may be for half an hour in the evening, half an hour in the morning, or 1 hour, 1 hour. But the remaining 22 hours, what we do depends, that governs our meditation. If we don't control our mind during the whole of the day and let the mind wander wherever it wants and doing everything any way we like, then we sit down for meditation. That does not work at all. Whole day is preparation for meditation. Our attitude has to change towards work, its results towards other people and everything. So that is being described here. We were doing verse number 26 we finished. That is the abhyasa yoga. Sloka 26 is a description of abhyasa, how to practice meditation. Abhyasa yoga. Abhyasa means practice. So that's the key verse, 26. There Sri Krishna said, yato niścarati manaścañcalamasthiram tatastato niyamyaitadātmanyeva vaśaṃ nayet. As the mind wanders away in different directions when we sit down for meditation, as many times as it goes away from the object of meditation in different directions, so many times from all those digressions, patiently, repeatedly bring it back and make it dwell on the self. That is the verse. That is the crux of meditation. Watching the mind, we should be watchful. If you don't watch, it will be going from one topic to another topic, and we will not know how we ended up there thinking about something totally different from what we were supposed to think about. So we should be watchful what the mind is thinking. If you are watchful, then we can catch the mind as soon as it goes away from the topic of meditation. So that is the practice of meditation. Now we go to verse number 27 and onwards. Next four or five slokas, they deal with a very important topic. Meditation is possible only when we try to at least visualize the presence of God in all and everything. Very key important preparation of the mind is, as the Upanishad says, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, Chandogya Upanishad says. Very famous sentence. This whole universe is Brahman. That is the crux of Vedanta, basis of Vedanta. This universe, what we see as names and forms, good and bad, everything, is Brahman. The names and forms are superimposed on that Brahman, which is infinite pure consciousness. That point has to be kept in mind always. That means we have to practice seeing the presence of God in all and everything. Not only people, animals, plants, situations and everything. That is being described in this part of this chapter 6. So let us do 27. Prashanta manasam hyenam yoginam sukhamuttamam upaiti shanta rajasam brahma bhutamakalmasham. Indeed, the bliss supreme accrues to this sinless yogi whose mind has been stilled, rajas suppressed, and who has become Brahman. This is a very high state. He has become Brahman. After that there is nothing. That's the end of all spiritual practice, culmination of human life. So what happens to such a person? Shanta Sukham Uttamam Yoginam Sukham Uttamam Upaiti. Uttamam Sukham Upaiti. Supreme bliss. Sukha does not mean ordinary worldly happiness. That is not real sukha at all. When something would happen, for example, a person gets a promotion, or a young couple get a child, or something like that happens, so that is sukha. We enjoy, good. That is not the kind of sukha we are talking about in Vedanta. Supreme bliss, sukham atyantikam, atindriyam, beyond the domain of sense organs and mind, the bliss of knowing the self, that I am Brahman. Supreme bliss cannot be described in words. Even ordinary sukha cannot be described in words. Supposing there is a very young mother, first baby is born, and she is holding their newborn baby like this, close to her chest. She feels so happy. That is the happiest moment in her life, married life. She has first child holding like that warmth, baby. How much happiness that mother gets. That is also cannot be described in words. If you ask her, how happy are you, what can she say? How can she say, she say, I'm very happy, that's all she can say. But cannot be expressed in words. Even ordinary sukha like that. But this sukha that meditation brings, that beyond the domain of thought or speech, cannot be expressed. That's what this is saying, this sloka is saying here. Prashanta manasam yoginam. A yogi whose mind has been made calm by the practice of meditation, long practice of meditation, consistently. Shanta rajasam, whose rajas has been calmed down. If you have too much rajas, lot of activity, desire, anger, jealousy, all these are rajasic tendencies. I have to do this, I want to get that. All this rajasic, this has to be calmed down. If you have so many worldly ambitions, then that's an obstruction to spiritual life. Contentment. Many times in the Gita, Sri Krishna says, be content with what you have. Yadrichalama santushta. So a person whose rajas has been subdued, tamas must be subdued even before that. No, tamas cannot have any place in spiritual life. Shanta rajasam, a person, yogi whose mind is free from rajas. Prashanta manasam, whose mind has been made calm by the practice of meditation. Uttamam sukham upaiti. Such a person experiences supreme bliss that cannot be compared to anything that this world can offer. Incomparable, different. Such a person, brahmabhutam akalmasham. Akalmasham means free from all impurities, sins. All evil thoughts have been rooted out completely from his mind, replaced by only divine thoughts, good thoughts, pure thoughts. There is no streak of bad thought in such a person's mind, not even in dream. Generally what happens, daytime somehow we manage to remain, think good thoughts. Try to read some scripture, gospel, Bhagavad Gita, think about Sri Ramakrishna or Ishta Devata, whatever we do. Daytime somehow we manage, but at night when we go to sleep, in dream, all kinds of bad thoughts will come. From where they will come? Earlier, long ago stored impressions, they are still there. So that also has gone in the case of the yogi. Akalmasham. No trace of impurity in such a person's mind. Such a person, to him, uttamam sukham upaiti, he achieves supreme peace. Brahma bhutam, he has become one with the divine. I am separate, God is separate, that stage has gone. One with the divine. That is the culmination of meditation. Now we go to sloka number 28. Yunjannevam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmashaha sukhena brahma samsparsham atyantam sukhamashnute. Atyantam sukhamashnute, enjoy supreme happiness. So let me read the translation, verse number 28. Thus, integrating himself always, the sinless yogin easily achieves contact with Brahman or infinite bliss. Brahman is infinite bliss. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So how a yogi does this one? Sada Atmanam Yunjan. Always remaining in contact with Brahman. He says here integrating himself always. Integrating means Yunjan evam yathoktena kramena. As explained in the previous slokas, practicing meditation, concentration for a long time. By doing it consistently, by practicing meditation, as explained in 626, yato niścarati, that sloka, by practicing meditation for a long time, a person, yogi vigita kalmashaha, becomes free from all impurities. In the previous sloka also, 27 also, akalmashaha came. That's a common thing in describing a yogi. Yogi is one whose mind is completely pure. No trace of impurity, anger, jealousy, pride, lust, nothing is there. Such a mind is important. That is the hallmark of a yogi. No impurity. Always calm and peaceful. Vigata kalmashaha yogi sada atmanam yunjan. Always engaging in the Atman. Remaining in touch with the Atman. Integrating himself, it says. Brahma samsparsham atyantam sukhamashnute. Sukhena, easily. Not so easily, but it says sukhena. That easy is it's a later thing. In the beginning stages, it is not easy. It is very difficult. But you have to go through that stage. Then as we are established in practice, then it becomes easy. But not until then. Until then it's going to be a struggle. Every day sit down meditation, mind goes here and there. It's a constant struggle. Some days you get up frustrated. You have not been able to do anything. Whenever you are sitting there trying to do japa, the mind has gone here and there. And you don't feel good. Today I didn't have a good meditation like that. That's the beginning stage. But if you persist, by the grace of God, it becomes easy. Sukhena atyantam sukhamashnute. Enjoy supreme peace. Brahma samsparsham. Brahma samsparsham means contact with Brahman. Contact with Brahman means there is no contact, means no two separate things are not there. Brahman is separate, I am separate, I am contacting him. They are not like that. Becoming one with Brahman. There is only one thing, Brahman. That feeling of separation is ignorance. That ignorance goes away. I've always been the same as Brahman. I was never anything else. That realization will come. So that's the culmination of meditation after a long time. That's what being described. It's all description of the height of meditation. Now, in the next 3 slokas, a very important idea comes. And that is from the Upanishads. 3, 4 slokas. 29, 30, 31, 32, very important slokas. So let us begin with sloka number 29. Sarvabhutastamatmanam sarvabhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. The topic has already come before. You will see it is familiar to you. Sarvabhutastamatmanam sarvabhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. With equality of vision everywhere, he whose inner sense has been attuned to yoga beholds the self in all beings and all beings in the self. Sarvatra samadarshana. The samadarshitva has come before, same-sightedness, treating everybody alike. Where did it come? Very important sloka, chapter 5, verse 18. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini. 5:18, very important sloka. We have to go back and review earlier slokas on the same topic. Samadarshitva means same-sightedness, looking upon all beings alike, seeing the same divine in them. Vidya vinaya sampanna brahmana, highest kind of noble person, seeker of Brahman or knower of Brahman, Brahmana, endowed with knowledge and humility. Gavi, cow. Hastini, elephant. Shuni, dog. Shapaka, the lowest person in society, no education, no culture. He was born, it's not his fault, but circumstances. Looking upon all of them alike, samadarshinaha. So that samadarshitva is very important preparation of the mind. If you see differences, oh, he is so good, he is so bad, I'll hate that person, I'll have that person, you can't meditate. Mind has to be made calm, seeing same divine in all. Very important preparation for meditation. So, verse number 29, Sarvabhutastham Atmanam Yaha Pashyati. A person who sees the same divine Atman in all the beings, Sarvabhutastham Atmanam. Atmani Sarvabhutani Yaha Pashyati. One who sees all beings in the same self. Two aspects, same God in all and seeing all in the same one divine. There is no separation. Yikshate, one who sees all beings in the same self and the same self in all beings. Yoga yuktatma, one who is engaged in practice of yoga. Yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. He is who sees everybody, everything alike, sarvatra, everywhere, in all beings, saying the same divine. That's a very important quality for a spiritual seeker, seeing same divine in all. But when we practice, we have to be careful. If there is a wicked person, we should not go close to the person and try to be friendly with that wicked person. Same God is there in him also, that is true. But that person is not aware of it, and it will not be safe for us to do that from a distance. But no hatred. So that is one. This is an important idea, comes in the Upanishad. There is a Upanishad, Ishopanishad. Ishopanishad is a small Upanishad. It is also called Ishavasya Upanishad. It has only 18 slokas. There are two slokas, two mantras. Mantras number 6 and 7 in Ishavasya Upanishad. They say exactly the same thing, almost same words. Verses 6 and 7 in Ishavasya Upanishad or Isha Upanishad. Those verses are like this. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyeva anupashyati sarvabhuteshu atmanam tato na vijugupsate. That is sloka number 6, mantra number 6 in Ishavasya Upanishad. Yaha sarvani bhutani atmani eva anupashyati. He sees all beings in one's own self. That means no separation. You and I are separate is the ignorance. You and I are one, both are divine, same divinity appearing as you and me, that is knowledge. Sarva bhuteshu cha atmanam yapashyati. One who sees the same self in all the beings. One who sees all beings in the same self and one who sees the same self in all beings. Saha navijugapsate. That person never encounters any unhappiness or hatred. That is verse number 6 in Isha Upanishad. Verse number 7 is similar. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhudvijanataha tatra ko moha kashoka ekatvam anupashyataha. For a person who sees the same divine in all and all in the same one divine self, for such a person, where is delusion, where is grief? Tatra ko moha kashoka. For such a person who sees same divine in all and all in the same divine, free from all kind of sufferings, no shoka, no grief, no moha, no delusion, no ignorance, totally enlightened. So that is the important quality for a yogi, seeing the same divine in all and all in the same divine. Now that has practical implications. When we see somebody, if you remember the same divine is in that person, then we will be nice to that person. His appearance may be not attractive, his behavior may not be very right, uncouth behavior, some people are there, but in those people also same divinity is present. That's what we have to see. And act accordingly, carefully. Loving everybody, no hatred towards any being. Nirvara sarva bhuteshu. Later it will, in Gita, Sri Krishna will say. Then, dikshate yoga yukta atma sarvatra samadarshanaha. Seeing everybody, everything alike. So very important quality to be practiced by a yogi. Then meditation becomes easy. If you have differences, very strong likes and dislikes regarding people and objects and situations, then that will be an obstruction in meditation. Then it is made more made clearer in the next sloka number 31. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mayi pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sacha me na pranashyati. Yaha mam sarvatra pashyati. He who sees me in all. Mam means me, Bhagavan is saying. Sarvam cha mayi pashyati. Seeing all in me. Mayi means in me. Sarvam pashyati. Who sees me in all in me. Tasya, to such a person, aham na pranashyami, I am never lost. He is always in touch with me. He is always seeing me. He is always in communion with me. Sacha me na pranashyati. He is also not separated from God. He is always united with God. Seeing God in all. Some time ago, I gave a 3-day retreat in Ganges and Pittsburgh and Houston and other places. The topic was seeing and serving God in all. Seeing and serving God in all. Very important topic. That's the main spiritual practice. If you can see God in all, at least visualize with some difficulty also in the beginning, because some people make it difficult for us to see God in them. That's where the test challenge comes. So no hatred towards any being. Nirvara sarva bhuteshu. In the 12th chapter, Bhakti Yoga, describing the qualities of a bhakta, the first quality, Sri Krishna says that a devotee should have no hatred towards any being. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha. 13th verse in 12th chapter. So that is not hating anybody, seeing the same God in all the beings. Vyomam pashyati sarvatra. Very important sloka. Sloka number 13, chapter 6. I am not lost to him who beholds me everywhere and beholds everything in me. Neither is he lost to me. That means we are always in divine contact with everybody, with everything. We are never separated from God. Even if there is nobody else, I am sitting alone in the room, there are other things in the room, the table and the chair and the bed and books and everything are there. All those things are divine manifestation. God alone appears as the whole universe. There is nothing other than God, Brahman. Always in touch. And within me also Brahman is there. Even if there is nothing else, I am sitting in an empty room, then also I am in touch with Brahman because he is right in me. He is my very self. How can I be separated from it at any time? Not possible. No separation. That is an important idea. Keeping God in mind, God's presence all the time, that is the preparation for meditation. Then mind easily becomes absorbed in God during meditation. If you practice this, presence of God in all beings at all times. Practice of the presence of God. The topic has come before. Remember Brother Lawrence? That's what he did. Doing all work as worship. Practicing the presence of God in all beings. That is the verse number 30. 31 also same topic. Let's go to Shloka 31. Sarvabhuta sthitam yo mam bhajatyekatvamasthitaha sarvatha vartamanopi sayogi mayi vartate. Sarvabhuta sthitam mam yaha bhajati. Seeing, he who sees me, worships me, who is present in all. Sarvabhuta sthitam mam. Mam means me, Bhagavan. Yaha bhajati. One who worships me, who is present in all the beings. Ekatvam asthitaha. Practicing unity. Conforming to unity. Ekatva means seeing everything as divine. One divine present in all. Whole universe is divine. That is the practice you have to do. Sarvatha vartamanopi. No matter how he appears to live, the external aspects of life are not very important. A person may be living in a mansion or a small room or somewhere under very modest circumstances or in very good condition. Those things, what food we eat, what dress we wear, where do we live, all those things are not important. Sarvatha vartamanapi. No matter under what condition a person lives, saha yogi mayi vartate. Such a yogi is always in communion with me. He will be with me. Mayi vartate. He remains in me. That means no separation. We have to always remember that God is present in all and everything and in me also. In every work I do, God is present. Everything is worship. That attitude, cultivation of that attitude is very important for a spiritual seeker hoping to practice meditation. This presence of the same divine in all is a very important point in the whole of Vedanta. It's the basis of Vedanta. One divinity present in all, appearing as all and everything. So this will come again in the later chapters. For example, many of you have studied chapter 13 earlier. Chapter 13, shloka number 27. This is one of my, you can say, favorite shlokas because I always come to that. Swamiji also quoted that one. 13:27. There, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashyatsu avinashyantam yah pashyati sapashyati. Sarveshu bhuteshu, in all the beings, not only human beings, animals, plants, inanimate objects also, even in this pen. We should treat the pen as if God is present. God is present in the pen, not as if He is present in the pen. That means you have to treat it gently after writing, keep it nicely in its place, not throw it away carelessly. It is same consciousness as you and I have, but it cannot express it because of its inert nature of the body. Pen's body is inert and human body is alive because greater manifestation of divinity in human body. Same divinity is in the pen, in the table, in the broomstick, as you know from that incident in Holy Mother's household. A lady swept the floor using the broom and then threw it away carelessly. Holy Mother said, no. After using the broom, keep it nicely, gently in its assigned place. For two reasons. Why? First reason is sheer convenience, experience. Next time when you want to sweep the floor, you don't have to search the whole place. Where is the broom? Where is the broom? Because it's always kept in the same place, predictably. You know where to find it. If you put it everywhere, anywhere, then you will have to search the whole house for the broom. Aggravation. That is not necessary. Keep it in the same place nicely. Second reason is the broom also has the same divine presence in it. It cannot talk or express because it's a broom. Because of the inert nature of its body, it is the divine manifestation is not clear, not visible. Does not mean God is not in it. Gently remembering God's presence in even in inanimate objects. We have to treat all objects nicely, gently. A small incident. I'll be talking about this topic in 2 weeks from now on a Sunday lecture. Small things. That's how spiritual life is made of. Not big things. How we do small things, that's what matters in spiritual life. One day, Swami Turiyananda, before he became a Swami, he was known as Harinath. He went to see Sri Ramakrishna in the evening, about 5 o'clock. Sri Ramakrishna told him, Hari, can you do something? This morning some people came here to Dakshineshwar for a picnic and they borrowed a knife from here because they had forgotten to bring the knife to cut fruits. They said they will bring it back and return it after picnic. So far they have not come. Will you please go and see what is happening? Are they still there? Is the knife? Where is the knife? So Hari went and looked. There was nobody there. Lot of newspaper in which food had been wrapped, everything had been thrown there, not cleaned, a picnic spot. A knife was also lying there, used but not clean, lying on the ground. Hari cleaned it and took it back to Sri Ramakrishna's room and kept it somewhere. Sri Ramakrishna said, Hari, that is not the place where I keep the knife. I always keep the knife in this place, keep it there. Not a big deal. I keep the knife here and there, what does it matter? That's what we think, but it matters. Sri Ramakrishna explains. He says, see, at those times there was no electricity. Now in the middle of the night, if I get up, switch and I then flip the switch and light is there instantly. That was not there in Sri Ramakrishna's time, gas light. So in the middle of the night, if you need something, how will you find it? You have to know where it can be found. Everything has to be kept in the same place so you can find it even in darkness. So Sri Ramakrishna said, always keep the same thing in the same place after use. Not a big Vedanta instruction, but that's how life is. Our life is made up of small events. How we do those small events, that's what defines our personality, our character. Not great things. We all don't do any great things in our lifetime, rarely. So coming back to this shloka number 31, Sarvabhutastitam mam yah pashyati yah bhajati. One who worships, recognizes me present in all the beings, ekatvam having the vision of unity, sarvatha vartamanopi, no matter in what condition he is, saha yogi mayi vartate. That means he is always with me, in communion with the divine. So, seeing same God in all, divinity in all is a key point that comes again and again. Then we go to shloka number 32. Continuation. the practical implication of seeing the same divinity in all. How we should put into practice. Sloka 32. Atmopamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjuna sukham va yadi va dukkham sayogi mayi vartate. No, sorry. Sayogi paramo mataha atmopamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjuna sukham va yadi va dukkham sayogi paramo mataha. Arjuna, he who sees alike pleasure and pain in all beings on the analogy of his own self is deemed the supreme yogin. This is a very important verse. There is something called the golden rule. The golden rule says, treat others as you would like to be treated yourself by others. Same standard for you and me. That's called the golden rule. That's in all the religions. It is in Hindu Dharma, it's in Christianity, it is in Islam, it is in Zoroastrian religion, it's in Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, everywhere it is there. It's called the golden rule. A long time ago I gave a Sunday talk about this one. So here the golden rule is, treat others as you would like to be treated by others. That means if you want to be respected and loved by others, you have to respect and love others. I cannot hate somebody and expect to be loved in return. That won't happen. So I should treat not only people, animals, plants, inanimate objects in the same way as I would like to be treated. That means nicely. Who wants to be treated not well by others? Everybody expects good treatment from others. So if I expect good treatment from others, I should treat others nicely as I like to be treated by them. That is the golden rule. That's being explained here in sloka number 32. Atmopamyena. That means just as oneself. Upama means comparison. Sarvatra yaha samam pashyati. He who sees all and everything in the same way as oneself. Sukham va yadi va dukkham. In happiness or unhappiness. Sa yogi paramaha yogi iti me mataha. Such a person is a yogi. In happiness or unhappiness. If something causes me pain, the same thing causes pain to you also. If something makes me happy, that may make you happy also. So we should not have two different standards, one for me, one for others. Same standard for all, in happiness and unhappiness. Treating my children in the same way as treat my neighbor's children. Not two standards. If my neighbor's child falls and bruises his knees, what do? Do I keep quiet? What do if my child falls and bruises his knee? I will bring it up and apply medicine and console it. Same thing should be done for the neighbor's child also, not only parents. So no two standards, one for me, one for others. Treat everybody as you like to be treated by other people. That is the golden rule. That's explained in sloka number 32. Atmopamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjuna sakham va yadi va dukkham sayogi paramo mataha. In every small thing, on the dining table, if there are so many different dishes and you like one of those dishes, that means you should not grab all of that one. Others also may like it. Sharing, consideration for others, like that one. That consideration for others, treating others as one would like to be treated by others, is a very important quality. We have to practice it every day in all matters, not only people, animals, plants, things also. Animals also. Gently, nicely, with compassion. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha. The sloka number 13 in chapter 12 describing qualities of a devotee, bhakta. No hatred towards any being. Maitra, friendliness towards all. Karuna, compassion towards all. Those are qualities of a yogi, devotee, yogi, jnani, bhakta, everybody. Spiritual seeker. Now the topic changes. Very important topic comes. How to control the mind from wandering in meditation. Key topic in this chapter. This chapter is on meditation, so the main problem is how to control the mind, wandering mind. That topic comes now. All this was preparation so far. So Arjuna asked that topic, that question now. So Arjuna's question, most important question in the Gita. Sloka number 33. Arjuna uvacha yoyam yogastvaya proktaha samyena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat sthitim sthiram. 34 also question. Two slokas, 33, 34. Chanchalam mimana Krishna pramati balavadradam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. Key question in the whole of Gita. How to control the mind in meditation. The mind is fickle, wandering, unsteady. How am I control? It goes everywhere when I sit for meditation especially. How to control? That is the question. So Arjuna Vacha, sloka number 33. Ayam yogaha tvaya proktaha. This yoga taught by you, meditation. Samyena madhusudana, consisting of samya, samatva, seeing same, everybody alike, same divine in all. Etasya aham na pashyami. I don't know how this can be practiced. Why it is difficult? Chanchalatvat, manasa chanchalatvat, sthitim sthiram. The mind is unsteady, constantly goes here and there. How to practice this yoga of sameness? So it also how to practice meditation. Mind keeps on going here because of his chanchalatva, unsteadiness. Sloka 34. Chanchalam mi mana Krishna pramati balavadradam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. Krishna, manaha chanchalam, the mind is chanchalam, means fickle, unsteady, keeps moving from topic to topic at this faster than the speed of light. Light is also, the speed of light is also very slow compared to the speed of mind. You know, light takes light 7.5 minutes to come from sun to the earth, 93 million miles. How long does it take for the mind to go to the sun? I can think of sun, immediately I am thinking, my mind is connected with sun. Instantaneously, much faster than the speed of light. That is how fast mind is. One moment I am thinking something, next moment I am thinking something else. That is chanchalatva, unsteady mind. Chanchalami mana Krishna, pramati means turbulent, churning, turbulent. Balavadradam is strong, and dradam means it is hard to control. Tasya nigraham aham na manye. I don't know how to control the mind. How to control the mind? I don't know. Na manye. tasya nigraham namanya. Vayuvariva sudushkaram. Vayu means the wind. Just like the wind, Vayoho iva sudushkaram, difficult to control the mind. How to control the mind? In short, Arjuna's question was how to control the mind. That's the question. Everybody has the same question. Yes, all of us have the same question, how to control the mind. Key question Arjuna asks. Now let us see what Sri Krishna replies in response to that question. It's already time. I'll read sloka number 35, and 35 is a key sloka. It has 2 instructions. We'll read, and next time we'll discuss in detail what Sri Krishna answers to this Arjuna's question, how to control the mind. So Krishna's answer is like this, sloka 35. Shri Bhagavan vacha asamshayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam abhyasena ta kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. Very important sloka. How to control the mind is answered here. 2 instructions are given. We'll discuss them in detail next time. See Bhagavan vacha, Bhagavan says, first of all, Sri Krishna acknowledges the difficulty of controlling the mind. Does not dismiss Arjuna's question. Sri Krishna does not say, oh, it's so easy, you can do it, no problem. He doesn't say that. Sri Krishna admits, acknowledges, yes, it is difficult to control the mind, Arjuna, I know that one. Sri Krishna says that in the first line. Asamshayam, undoubtedly, Mahabaho Arjuna, Manaha Durnigraham, Chalam. Mind is unsteady and Durnigraha, difficult to control. I know that one. However, the word tu you see in the second line, second word. However, it can be controlled. Grishyate. It can be controlled. How? 2 things have to be done. What are they? Abhyasena vairagyena. Abhyasa vairagya. Exactly same words Patanjali uses in his Yoga Sutras. Abhyasa vairagya bhyam tan nirodha. Like this one sutra is there. Aphorism is there. So by practice, abhyasa means as described in 626. Yato niścarati. That's abhyasa. By doing abhyasa, repeated practice, vairagyena. That we have to understand. By practice of renunciation or detachment. By doing these 2 things, grishyate, mind can be controlled. So we'll stop here. We'll discuss next time the details, how to practice abhyasa, how to practice vairagya. These are the 2 things we have to do to control the mind and practice meditation. So let us stop here and say the closing prayer. If you have any questions on this topic, please call me or send me email. I shall try to answer as well as I can. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om, may all be happy, may all be free from diseases and other problems. May all realize and practice what is noble, auspicious. May no one be subject to misery. Om peace, may there be peace in our hearts, adhyatmika shanti. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. And may adi bhautika shanti. And may there be peace everywhere in nature. Adi daivika shanti. Harihi Om Tatsat. Sarvam Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.